I promise you, I will take revenge for you. Before sunrise, a CEO slips into his own office. He finds a janitor crying and a quiet clue that turns the whole building upside down. Stay till the last second. Every detail matters. An undercover black CEO arrives early, notices something is very wrong, and follows a hidden trail inside his own company. What he uncovers is bigger, darker, and closer than anyone expects. If you enjoy tense, true feel mysteries like this, please subscribe and tap the bell so you don't miss the next story. Your support helps me keep making more. Where are you watching from? Comment your city name below. The building breathed different before dawn. The elevator hummed like a throat clearing in a dark room, and the air on the 42nd floor had that cold, hollow feel that only empty offices can hold. I used the service corridor, the one with the concrete walls, and the framed evacuation map no one ever reads. And I kept my hood up. A night badge clipped to my pocket buzzed me in. The glass doors slid apart without greeting. No reception smile, no morning cheer. Just the hum of vents and the faint smell of lemon cleaner that clings to all towers when workers have just washed away yesterday. People expected the CEO to arrive at 9 with a car and a shadow behind him. They did not expect him to come in before sunrise through a side door, wearing old sneakers and a jacket bought to be forgotten. It is not that I am hard to know. It is that many people decide what they will see and stay with it. A black man in a plain hoodie at this hour looks like staff to them. I had not created that habit, but I knew how to use it. My office door was ajar. That door never opened itself. I stood a second, hands in my pockets, breath holding without permission, and listened. The vent sighed. Something plastic clicked and clicked again. I caught it then, a ribbon of quiet sound under the machines. A slow, shaky breath. The soft, wet air of a man crying and trying not to be seen. I pushed the door with my knuckles slow. My eyes adjusted before the lights did. The city was a flat black glass beyond the floor-to-ceiling window. Red streaks from a crane 2 blocks over blinked and blinked. In the gray of my office, by the desk, a man sat on the low chair with both hands cupped over his face. He was in a blue work shirt with a stitch-named patch and gray pants that had bleach halos near the knees. His cleaning cart sat half inside the door. A mop leaned like a tired friend. The man was older, hair cut close, a little white at the temples, shoulders rounded like he had learned how to make himself smaller in tight rooms. He heard me, but did not look up. His shoulders flinched. The hand on his face pressed harder. A cheap key ring clicked against itself. Click, click, click. I'm sorry, he said, voice dust dry. I thought no one would be in. It's early, I said. My voice sounds different when I don't use the one people know from stage and video. I kept it there. Quiet. You all right? He took a breath and like it hurt to pull air through his nose. He wiped his face fast with a paper towel crumpled so tight the fibers had torn. He looked at me and looked past me at the hall and then over my shoulder at the window where city lights blinked like eyes. He had eyes that had seen a lot and learned to speak less than they knew. I didn't break nothing, he said. I'm not here for that. I didn't say you were. I moved inside, closed the door with my foot, let it latch. The quiet thickened. The desk light was on, that low pool of warm yellow that makes paper look more gold than white. The rest of the room was dim. I stayed near the window. It keeps people from feeling trapped if you don't come in too close. Do you need water? He shook his head hard. His hands kept moving even when his head stilled. There was a folded envelope on the desk blotter under the lamp. Plain white. No mark on the outside. That wrong kind of plain that means someone chose it for that reason. The man's eyes flicked to it and away, then back, like the envelope was a stove coil. They told me to leave it, he said. Who told you? He pressed his lips in a way people do when they try to seal words in. His hand reached up without permission and smoothed his hair even though there was nothing to fix. You don't want to be mixed in this, he said. I shouldn't even be saying. I couldn't just put it and walk. That's not how my mother raised me. He had that worker's diction, steady and plain, with the weight of long nights in it. He glanced at my face again. He did not know me. Not as I was. He saw a man too awake for this hour wearing a cheap jacket. That was good. I wanted him to speak. What's your name? I asked. Reggie, he said. Reginald Carter. Contractor. He watched me the whole time he said it, gauging if I would sneer at that last word. I didn't move. All right, Reggie. I'm Jay, I said. I had learned that people tell Jay more truth than they tell Isaiah Reed, Chief Executive Officer. You can say it. I don't know much. I just run reports. I won't tell on you. He nodded once, as if he was making a deal with himself, then looked down at the envelope like it might crawl away. They told me to put that under his keyboard, he said. Under his. He wouldn't say my title. Even here, even alone. The respect was there without being spoken. It hit me in the chest, and then passed into the place where planning lives. Who gave it to you? Reggie's jaw worked. He looked at the card. The handles were aluminum, scuffed. Someone had used black electric tape to fix a crack. His fingers touched the tape, then let go. He picked up the envelope in a holding it away way and then set it down. It made a soft pap sound on the blotter. It was left for me downstairs, he said. On my cart. I come in at 3. I start on 32. Go up. Work to the top because the night runs on timers. That's how we're told to do it. I got to the garage level to get more bags, and there was on my cart. No note. But he was in the hall the last nights. He is always in places he don't need to be. Who? The money man, he said. Your money man. His voice went quiet on the last word. Not fear quiet. Fury quiet. He had swallowed this before, I could tell. He had likely swallowed 100 things for 100 bosses and decided he would not do that again. The one on the big calls. Avery. That name brushed the back of my tongue like rust. I kept my face still. The CFO comes at night. Reggie blinked at me, unsure if I really did not know. His eyes were wet, but his gaze had turned hard. When hurt moves to anger, there's a line you can see if you look straight. You think a man gets a job like mine and don't see who's sneaking, he said. I see the shoes under the stall. I see the coats hung on chairs at midnight and notes on the desk that look half done and all wrong. I see what people throw out. I clean. That's my job. So I see. I reached to the envelope. I watched his face as my fingers touched paper. He flinched again, but this time it was not fear. It was that reflex you get when you watch someone pushing a door you know is wired the wrong way. I slid my nail under the flap. The glue had been dampened and pressed again. Sealed, then opened. Whoever had handled it before me had not been careful. I pulled the paper free. The font was my letterhead font. The letterhead itself was a touch off. The logo sat 2 millimeters too close to the margin. A detail you don't catch unless you have been staring at that logo for 3 years in 300 formats. I read the first line. It said I was sorry. It said I had made grave errors in judgment. It said I had misled the board about our reserves and had asked staff to edit a safety report. The words had weight because they were simple. It could be a good writer's trick to put a lie in plain words. The rhythm of the sentences was old-fashioned, not mine. The signature block at the bottom had my name typed, and below it there was a blank where a signature could go, with a faint imprint like someone had practiced on another sheet that had been removed. I felt that cold heat in my chest, the kind you get when you almost get hit crossing a street. Not panic. Focus. A note to myself wrote itself in my head. There's a short list of people who would know to pick those particular subjects. There's a shorter list who would have access to the letterhead file. And only one who would think to put it here for me to find and sign. What did they tell you, Reggie? I asked. The paper felt too light for what it was. That I should leave it and mind my own, he said. He wiped his face again, but the crying had stopped. Something else was there now. A stiff set to his mouth. They said if I wanted my job, I shouldn't look in any envelopes. They know folks like me need the hours. They think that makes us blind. Do you have a family? I asked. A question like that can be taken as a threat if you say it wrong. I kept my tone soft. Anyone you feel you need to protect, right now. My grandson, he said. The word caught at his teeth for a second and came out steady after. 8 years old. He likes trains. He waits up for me sometimes so I can walk him to school. Our building lost water last winter, and I brought him here to use the bathroom in the lobby because it's clean and warm. And I heard the way the guard talked to him, like he was stealing air. I don't like owing men who think like that anything, but I like him safe more. Has anyone said his name to you? He looked at me sharp. He studied my face again. He had that look people get when they realize the person in front of them might be bigger than they first thought. He shook his head slowly. They don't know my mind, he said. Just my route. Under his words, I heard another thing. The heart scrape of a man who had seen a thing too close to something else that had happened. People don't cry at work over one envelope unless there are 10 stories under it. He had one that had not come into the light yet. Reggie, I said, and I let the cover drop. The room changed a degree when I did. My name is Isaiah. Isaiah Reed. He blinked, face blank as a switch. He looked at my shoes. He looked at my jaw. He glanced at the wall where my portrait had hung for 6 months before I had it moved because I got tired of seeing my own face smile when I came in. His eyes widened. He choked on a breath and then got it. He stood up too fast and put his hands on the back of the chair like he might lift it and throw it, or hold it still, or both. Sir, he said. You? It's all right, I said. Never mind that. It's just us. Keep calling me Jay if you need to. But hear me. You did the right thing bringing this to me. And you can trust me. I need you to tell me every single thing you saw or heard in the last week that felt wrong. And then I need you to sit right over there and drink water and breathe, and keep your phone on in case anyone calls. He stared at me like he was checking the edges of the person in front of him to make sure there were not too many. He nodded. He sank back into the chair. His hands opened and closed once and then steadied. That man, he said. Your money man. I seen him come through the loading dock door at 2 nights this week. He doesn't say hello to nobody. He holds his phone like this. He made a cage with his hand around invisible glass, like he is hiding a light from himself. He went to the freight elevator with a contractor card, the same card we use. He got off at B4. I clean down there on Sundays sometimes. That level got a room with no label. You know the one between the maintenance cage and the old filing room? It hums. It's like a fridge door, but louder. It feels like a throat does when someone talks behind it. A shadow server. We had an IT locker on B2. Nothing on B4. B4 was supposed to be bikes and old office chairs no one wanted, but no one threw out because maybe one day they'd need it. He was hands and voice with the building guy too, Reggie said. Tommy with the watch. You know, they talk close. The man in the suit gives him a picture once in a while. Paper with names. And a card. And the nights after, something will be moved or gone. Sometimes files. Sometimes boxes. Sometimes just the camera blink is wrong in the hall. I know the blink. I pick it up in my side eye without looking because it tells me if I have to wait to mop. I texted one person. Not the general counsel. Not the board. I texted Maya. She had come up through audit in 3 cities, and I had pulled her here because she had that hard edge where right and wrong don't blur no matter how fancy the room gets. Come now. Use stairs. No phones. Trust me. My finger hovered over her name and then hit send. I held the letter without looking at it. Something in me said it was not the only thing they had left. I checked the drawer with the spare mouse batteries. I checked under the chair seat. People tuck things there like children. Under the blotter, there was a second paper. No envelope. Just a single sheet with a list printed in tall capital letters. They were dates. Night dates. Times. A set of numbers paired with words that belonged in a plant, not an office. Fan down. Flow. Valve. The last line had a time that had not yet passed. 6:30. Reggie, I said. What's this? He leaned in. That's the air. Our HVAC. He nodded. He had a text respect in his eyes for the unseen. You put too much volatile stuff on a floor and set the fan wrong and someone will get a headache. Or woozy. Or take a bad step. I remember the intern from 2 months ago. Lena, 22. Laugh that carried even when she was trying to be quiet. She had died on the 3rd floor stairwell after a night hackathon. The cameras were looped in a 10-minute block that night, and no one ever figured why. The report said slip. The tread on that stair was worn. I had signed the funds to replace it the week after. I had read her mother's letter to myself in the car. Someone is playing with air, I said. They think we don't see, Reggie said. The anger stepped into his voice in a clear straight line. But I got eyes and ears, and I got a cart with a little plastic clip on it where I put my phone because my hands are wet. I keep the camera on when I'm in a room alone because I learned the hard way that if something breaks, they will say the cleaning man did it. I got a video of your money man coming out of your office at 2 nights ago. He takes the long way like he thinks long ways are shorter when you have sins. He don't know my cart was at the end of the hall with a mop bucket dripping, and the camera was looking up under the lamp. "Do you have that video?" He reached into his shirt pocket. Not a smartphone. A cheap phone with a case that had scoffs and a little sticker of a train engine on the back like his grandson had put it there, and smiled. He tapped the screen, found the file, handed me the device. I stood by the window where the light from outside was still more night than day and watched the tiny screen. The angle was low. The hall outside my office was empty. The timestamp ticked. A figure stepped out of my door, fast and smooth. A man in a dark suit with his tie loosened. He had the forward lean of a person who tells rooms what the number will be. He kept his head down, but not far enough. His profile was clear for half a second in the reflection in the framed print across the hall. It was Avery. He looked both ways, like a kid leaving a pantry with cookies. He had a thick envelope in his hand. He put it under his coat. He smoothed his hair without touching it. He went to the service stairs, not the elevator, because that's what you do when you think your face is a pass. I handed Reggie back his phone. I did not let my face show relief or rage or anything, because those are kind of light too. "Thank you," I said. A soft knock came at the back door that connected my office to the small conference room. 3 taps, a pattern we had not planned, but became ours. I opened. Maya slid through, closed it, turned the lock back without looking. She wore her usual neutral clothes that made her as memorable as a shadow, and her hair back sharp. She scanned the room. She didn't flinch at Reggie. She didn't make him feel like a man to be explained. She nodded at him like you nod at a witness. "You look like you haven't slept," she said to me. "Calm as a doctor." "I did not," I said, and handed her the letter. She read. The muscles in her jaw ticked to the 4th line. She whistled without sound. "We thought they would try the little game," she said. "Didn't know they would have the nerve to write it for you." "B4, I said. "Unlabeled room. Night visits. Loop cameras. Air systems played with." 6:30. She checked her watch. 5:54. "We have 36 minutes. You have a small team?" I asked. "In the car," she said. 2 people. No weapons. Cameras. I brought the old work badges you never turned in." I looked at Reggie. "Can you show them the room?" He nodded once. "I don't go alone, though," he said. His eyes didn't challenge. "They told me how it would be." "You won't," Maya said. Her voice could hold a steel bar when she needed. "Let's take the freight." Maya slipped back through the conference door with a hand signal to wait 30 seconds before any other move. The building had ears. You learn that fast when your decisions can move markets. I listened to the numbers tick on the wall clock. The room held its breath with us and then exhaled slow. At 6:10, the office floor began to change. A copier on the open floor warmed up and coughed a page. Somewhere a pod coffee maker began to gurgle. The city outside traded black for gray. The sunrise was trying to decide if it would come or not. There was a knock you could know from across a parking lot. 2 sharp raps that belonged to men who believe doors will open when they hit them. I saw my foot back. Reggie reached for the mop handle. He didn't know what he would do with it, but it made him feel he could do something if he had to. The door opened before I could speak. Avery walked in like it was noon on a quarter end. He wore that face he kept for cameras, concern with a dash of confident ease. He had a folder under his arm and a phone in his hand, and a little line between his eyes that shows only when life won't sit the way he wants it to. He saw Reggie, and his mouth reflexed into a tight, polite smile meant for service people. He did not see me at first. I stood angled by the window where the light kept its own counsel. "Morning," Avery said, to the room, not to a person. "We have a little fire drill at 9. I say, when you get in." His eyes landed on me. His words stopped. He had to stop by clearing his throat. "Oh, early start." I looked at him the way you look at a person who has made a game in your house and used your pieces to play it. "Good to see you too, Avery," I said. I let my voice be mine. He smiled broader. "Isaiah," he said. The name came out like it had been in his pocket all night, getting warm. "I was just going to call you. I got an email that." "Save your vocal cords," I said. I stepped to the desk. I turned the letter over so he could not see the words but could see the letterhead. His eyes went there like a magnet. "I was here early. Found something." His gaze flicked to the envelope-shaped imprint on the blotter. It was so fast that if I had looked away, I would have missed it. People at his level spend their lives training those flicks out of their faces. Pressure had stripped his training bare in that one frame of a second. "We should talk about found," he said, and smiled with teeth. "We will," I said, "right after you explain to me why B for has an unlabeled room humming at night." He opened his mouth and closed it. He looked down the hall behind him without moving his head. The building manager had shadowed him for months. He didn't see Tom now, and that scared him more than if he had. "I don't know what that is," he said, "but if there is something, it's below my line. You know my scope. You were on floor 42 2 nights ago," I said. "Your profile says you had a late call at home. Traffic cams saw your license plates at the loading dock at 1:58. You used a contractor badge. Why would that be?" Avery looked at Reggie as if the answer might be hiding in the lines on the man's face. "I was doing a walk," he said to me, but using the voice that is meant to make a witness feel like a ghost. He lifted one shoulder. "Casual. I had some concerns about security. I take that seriously. So serious that you looped the camera on this floor last Thursday?" I asked. He smiled again, but it was a different smile. This one had a crack in it where fear had slid a fingernail. "We can pull logs," he said. "We did," I said. "And we have more. Much more." He started to speak, but his phone buzzed. He looked at it. His left thumb hovered over the screen and did not touch. I saw the message flash in that half second. "Bay Fear? Door. 625. There was no name. Just the line. "Who's downstairs, Avery?" I asked. "I have no idea," he said, and put the phone face down with the care a man uses when he knows there is a live wire on the counter. A second shadow passed our door. Olin, head of building security, big shoulders in a suit that always looked half a size too tight, even though it fit him, paused and stepped in. He used to be a cop. He had that watchfulness you can't lose if you grew it the hard way. "Everything okay?" Olin asked. "It will be," I said. "I'll let the air in the room rest for a second." Olin, who has access to the HVAC settings from here. He lifted his chin. He had learned not to be impressed by money, which is why I hired him. "Engineering, me, building management, and your floor managers with approvals," he said. "I can see changes, but not who made them if they use the old panel." "Do you trust Tom?" I asked. He snorted. "Tom trusts his own interest," he said. "Good," I said. "Maya isn't before with 2 staff. If they find a room with servers or hardware, I want you to meet them and lock it. Don't touch anything. Don't pull any switches. Just record and then call our outside counsel. Use your phone, not the building phone. That's important." He looked at Avery once. It was a tired look. We all knew each other's habits too well. He nodded and slipped away. Avery watched him go without blinking. "You gonna call the cops?" Avery tried to make it a joke, and the joke felt like a drop cloth on a wet floor. "Maybe," I said. "First I'm going to call the chair. But before that, I want you to look at something." I picked up Reggie's phone. I turned it and pressed play. I held it palm up between us. Avery's eyes went to it like iron to a lodestone. I watched him see himself. The human mind knows its own outline even when it lies. His face did a thing I'd seen only twice. It emptied, not calm, blank, like the part of him that held the mask had stepped to the side and left his skin alone to show the truth. "That could be anyone," he said. His voice had dropped its roundness. It had become bare wire. "Spare me," I said. "Soft. It's funny how soft can cut louder than a shout. You carried this building like a piggy bank and shook it in the night. You put your hand in B4. You left letters you cut yourself to make me sign for crimes you planned. You played with the air. You think I don't know why Lena fell." He flinched at her name. "If guilt is a map, names are the compass points." He took a step back and caught himself before he made it look like he was running. "Careful," he said. "You know libel law." "I know grief," I said. "I know what it does to mothers. And I know what a man with your habits does to truth. But I also know camera angles, badges that were never returned, and a building man who thinks his job will change if he gives the good boy the right key at night." I looked at Reggie and then back at Avery. "What you don't know is that this building is full of men like Reggie who see. And they don't like you. They don't say it because they need their hours. But they see. They saw you loop 3 cameras last month. They saw you erase a work order that had a complaint about a loose railing. Reggie printed a copy of it the day he filed it. You forgot about paper, Avery. You think everything is in the cloud. His face tightened and then smoothed. He took a breath. He leaned on Charm because he had nothing else left on the shelf. Isaiah, he said, you came in from outside. You don't know this city's way. You don't know the weight of this building. These people push. The board pushes. The money pushes. You do what you must to keep 1,000 families in paychecks. Sometimes that means moving air to get someone out before they take the whole ship down. I stared at him. He said it like he believed it. Men like him always do. They set a fire and call themselves heroes for burning down a house that had poor wiring. Here's what is going to happen, I said. You're going to sit down in that chair. You're going to put your phone on the table. You will not touch it. You will not call anyone. In 10 minutes, Olin will come back with a video of a room that does not exist. In 20, Maya will text me with a list of serial numbers. In 30, our outside counsel will be on this floor. In an hour, the chair will be here. He will ask me why I did not tell him sooner. I will tell him I was making sure I had more than a story before I pulled the pin. If any of you touch the HVAC again, I will call the city inspector and the press before lunch. Do not test me. Avery looked at the chair like it might be wired. He sat. His face had gone curious blank. The confidence had left the building. It would find another suit later. Reggie exhaled so slow it sounded like steam leaving a pipe. He put the mop down. He stood. He looked at me with that look men have when they can't find the words that fit the size of the thing in their chest. His hands opened. He closed his eyes for a second. When he opened them, they were clear. I wanted to tell you last month, he said, voice low and messy. After that girl, I wrote the office. I put my name. They told me to use the portal. Tommy said I should use the portal. He said that's how it gets seen. I did. It was gone in the morning. Like it never was. I felt like I was crazy. Like I had dreamed it. I believe you, I said. It felt small for what he had been holding, but it was true. I set the letter down. I picked up the second sheet with the airtimes. I folded it once and put it in my pocket. An alert buzzed on my watch. I glanced down. A still shot. B4. A room with racks. Server lights like 100 small eyes. A gray cabinet open with cables like veins. A cheap box fan on the floor. The photo was crooked like the person who took it did it fast and then listened for steps. Maya's text came on its heels. We have it. Locks in place. Air panel on manual. Log scraped. Police? Your call. I looked at Avery. He sat still and stared at the window as if the sky would change its mind for him. The morning light had climbed the glass now. It made the city look like a thing that could be saved. Counsel first, I typed. Then the chair. Then police. No leaks. I pressed send. The day was beginning in earnest outside. People put on coats. Cars nosed into lanes. Coffee lids were snapped onto cups at the cart on the corner where the man always slid one extra sugar into the bag because he liked giving one more than asked. Life was doing what it does. Inside my office, a man who had made a plan to push me out sat with his phone like a dead bird in front of him. Another man who had been told not to speak spoke, and the room itself seemed to listen. I worked in your plant in '98, Reggie said into that listening. Back before they sold it and went to new lines. I ran a drill press. I liked the feeling of making something I could touch. Then they cut. They said I could reapply through the contractor. I said no. I thought I had some fight left. I worked a little here, a little there. Then my daughter got sick. I took this night work because the world in the day is too loud for sick people. I told myself when I pushed the mop, I was still a man. I am. But the way some folks look at you can make you doubt. Today, I don't doubt. I stood with him in that. I didn't try to make a speech or a promise that would be more about me than about the ground we were on. I walked to the sink in the corner and filled a paper cup and handed it to him. He took it and drank like the water had been in the desert a minute. You'll get calls, I said to him. People will suddenly know your name who didn't before, or they'll pretend they don't see you. Both are a way of the same thing. You can give my office your number. If anyone bothers your family, you call my direct line. I mean that. He nodded. His eyes shone again, but this time it had a different shine. He wiped his face with his sleeve without feeling bad about it, and laughed a short, broken laugh. My mother used to say the truth is a cat, he said. You can put it out and close the door, but it knows how to get back in. There was a sound from the hall. Steps. Several. The voices of men who speak too quietly because they're used to rooms where loud helps the other person more. Olin came back in with Maya and two attorneys from the firm I trust when trust costs. Their faces told me enough. This would be work, slow and heavy, with all the knives we use in suits. But the center held. Avery stood when the attorneys entered like standing could change the truth. He smoothed his tie. He tried to set his face in that mix of offended and wounded that had worked for him before. He saw it didn't land today. Something in him sagged, a little leak of air you could barely hear. We talked then as we had to. Voices, documents, calls. The chair came up in an hour, hair still wet from a shower, tie on wrong. He looked at me with blame, and then with something like gratitude, and then with discomfort for that gratitude. He looked at Reggie like he had never seen a man hold a mop and leave a mark big enough to see from the boardroom. He would learn. By 9, the first memo was drafted. It did not say what had happened, because lawyers don't let you be that honest. It said we had discovered irregularities and were acting. It said the CFO was on leave. It said the company had strong values and we would not bend them in a storm. The words felt light. But sometimes you put small words into a big room and let them do their work in the corners. Later, I would stand in front of camera and take the heat that comes when you tell the truth about Rod. Not today. Today we held the door. When the room emptied and the last coat sleeve brushed the door frame and the desk light hummed alone again, Reggie stood by the window with his card. He looked down at the street like a man who has watched the tide for years and just now learned how to read it. "You're not undercover now, are you?" he said. It wasn't a question. "Not today," I said. He nodded. He reached for the envelope like he wanted to hold his fear and crush it into a ball the size of his palm and throw it away. He didn't touch it. He looked at me. "You going to be safe?" I thought of the route I run in the mornings. The way a black SUV sometimes idles too long at the light. The letters with no return address that use cut-out magazine words like a TV writer's idea of a threat. The way my wife says my name when she thinks I am not sleeping enough to keep my hands steady on the weekend pancakes. Safety does not mean what people think it means when you carry this seat. But today felt safer than last night, and that's as close as we get. I will be as safe as the truth will let me be, I said. And I won't let them lean on you. Not on my watch. He nodded like that made a shape he could stand inside. He pushed his card a foot and then stopped. He looked back at the desk. He reached into the lower tray of the card and pulled out a small manila pouch, sealed with a strip of blue tape. He held it like it weighed more than it did. "I was going to throw this away," he said. "Now I think you should have it." He handed it to me. I opened it. Inside were 3 printed screenshots. Work orders. You could see the request about the stair tread, printed 2 days before Lena fell. Rejected. The reason field blank. Another showed the HVAC manual override with a timestamp at 2 in the morning and a note in a font that was not the building's. The third was a picture of a whiteboard from a conference room. Someone had written numbers and the word silence and drawn a circle around it. Reggie had taken the picture while a tray of cups blocked him from view in the reflection. The cat, as his mother would say, had climbed back in. I looked up at him. "This is enough," I said. "Enough to start," he said. He pushed his cart to the door. He stopped and turned back one more time. He held my eyes with his. "Sir," he said, "I see a lot at night. Most of it ain't my business. But this was because people died in the light for what they did in the dark. I know what that looks like. I've seen it in small ways. Leaks don't look like a leak until the ceiling gives. Today, the ceiling did not give. That's something." He left. The door clicked. The room breathed again. I stood in my own office and felt like I was in a place I had come to for the first time. The desk had an envelope on it like a small white lie that had been forced to sit in daylight. The city took the sun and made a glare of it that turned windows to sheets of fire for a minute, then softened. I picked up my phone. There were messages stacked like cordwood. I swiped through to one name and hit call. When she answered, I heard the sleep leave her voice in the space of a heartbeat. "You okay?" my wife asked. "I am," I said. "You sound like you just walked out of a burning building." "In a way," I said. "I'll tell you everything I can when I get home." "Come home," she said. It didn't land like an order. It landed like a harbor. I looked at the envelope and the second sheet in my pocket and the small manila pouch, and then at the window where a bird landed and shook water from its wings, the drops flinging tiny circles into air. I looked at the place in the hall where a man had left one thing and hoped it would be enough to make me fall. I thought of the old line that comes to you when you run in the dark. If you don't look down, you forget there's a path. I went to work.